Take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
CannabisRadio.com presents The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hey, this is great, man.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Thursday, August 18th, 2016, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. It's also less than 24 hours away from the annual Seattle Hemp Fest. Starting tomorrow, the park opens around 11 a.m., I believe. I'm taking the Amtrak train up there. We'll get to Seattle by noon. And hitting the ground running because the staff at Cannabis Radio has been busy booking me for every possible interview they can wedge in. I'm going to be speaking with all sorts of great folks already listed. Ed Rosenthal, the guru of ganja, I'll be interviewing on Friday. Who else do we got? Aaron Pelly, one of the legal folks out there. We've got Sarah Frank, an activist from Idaho, I'll be interviewing on Saturday. And many, many more. I'm looking at my schedule, and there's at least 20 interviews that we'll be conducting at this Seattle Hemp Fest. Plus, I've got 3 speaking spots, 6:50 p.m. on Friday, and then 2:45 p.m. Saturday and 6:05 p.m. Saturday. And then I've got all Sunday free. I'm also going to catch some of the speeches from some of the biggest names in marijuana activism. Rick Steves, Jody Emery, Mickey Norris, Chris Conrad, Brandon Krensler, Kevin Oliver, Nurse Heather, Lori Duckworth. If they're Joy Beckerman, I'm going to catch as many as I possibly can. Herb Thrasher, my good friend from 420 Radio, will be there as well. You can catch the main stage at Seattle Hemp Fest online by going to hempfest.org. They'll have live streaming from the main stage. Unfortunately, I'm not speaking at the main stage this year, and they don't have streaming from any of the other stages. But I will be doing a lot of updates on my social media accounts, sending Instagram videos, Facebook Lives, whatever we can do to bring you as much of Seattle Hemp Fest as we can. I know not everyone can make it out there, and we do everything we can here at the Russ Belville Show to at least give you that vicarious thrill of seeing legalization unfold out here on the West Coast. All right, this is our last show for the week because tomorrow I'll be on that train. So coming up on today's show, right after our Cannabis Radio News, we're going to take a cannabis focus at the Surgeon General of the Army, who really doesn't think medical marijuana would be all that good for soldiers with PTSD. We'll get behind some of the misconceptions she has over the cannabis plant in that segment. Also, we'll have some drug war data mining. There's a report out that explains, Drug Policy Alliance explaining how California has had over 500,000 arrests for marijuana in the past decade. Even with medical, even with decrim, 500,000 arrests in the past decade. Then, in our Cultivators Corner, coming up at 5:30, we'll be speaking with Justin Beck. He's the CEO of Cultivation Technologies Incorporated, and we're going to talk about this huge mega facility that they're building in Coachella, California, 115,000 square feet. We'll get him to dish on that at 5:30. Then at the end of the show, hour 1 at least, we will have time for a radical rant. I've noticed a meme going around Facebook where everyone's writing down 663-0507 on their hands. We'll tell you what that means and what it doesn't mean in the Radical Rant. Then stay tuned for hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. We've got a story from Delaware about a medical marijuana patient who has lost her court case appealing her firing for medical marijuana use. We've got some Watsy reefer madness in Maine we've got to debunk. And 5 things you ought to know about legalizing recreational marijuana in the state of California. It's all coming up here on the Russ Belville Show, exclusively on CannabisRadio.com and live from beautiful legal Potland, Oregon.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Cannabis use isn't the only thing growing. So are we. Grow with us. CannabisRadio.com.
Great websites today need expert web design and development and need to be e-commerce ready and mobile friendly. But building a marketable and profitable website can be an uphill climb. Ready to make your new website or replace your existing website? Think Orange as the new way to get in the black. Orange Hill Development works with Fortune 500 companies and offer the same top quality development service at a fraction of what other providers charge. Brands like Absolute, Carlsberg, and Nestea trust Orange Hill Development. Find out why you should trust your website with Orange Hill. Contact Orange Hill for a consultation today at orangehilldevelopment.com. It's time to Hem Present
with Enadina Stanger.
I say to you with all the fervor of my soul that God intended men to be free. Rebellion against tyranny is a righteous cause. And I believe that with every ounce of my soul, we are fighting a righteous cause because people need nature.
Marijuana,
Hem Present, only on Cannabis Radio.
sweet sativa, take a queen.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
It's time for the Cannabis Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Cannabis Radio News is now available exclusively at CannabisRadio.com. Now your marijuana headlines in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is Cannabis Radio News.
This is your Cannabis Radio News for Thursday, August 18th, 2016. Washington, D.C. Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates announced that the feds will cease using private prisons. Yates wrote that the private prisons, quote, simply do not provide the same level of correctional services, programs, and resources. They do not save substantially on costs, and as noted in a recent report by the department's Office of Inspector General, they do not maintain the same level of safety and security, end quote, according to the Washington Post. The Department of Justice will not renew the contracts of 13 private facilities housing federal prisoners or cut back the scope of the contracts with the goal of eventually eliminating them altogether. Those facilities house over 22,000 prisoners. In 2014, the Bureau of Prisons spent $639 million on the facilities run by Corrections Corporation of America, GEO Group, and Management and Training Corporation. Helena, Montana. A Helena judge has rejected an advocacy group's request to delay enforcement of restrictions on Montana's medical marijuana industry. District Judge James Reynolds on Wednesday denied the Montana Cannabis Industry Association's request to stay a state Supreme Court order implementing the restrictions on August 31st. The group on its website urges medical marijuana supporters to now focus on passing a ballot initiative that would roll back the restrictions. After August 31st, medical marijuana providers will be barred from selling marijuana to more than 3 patients. The state Supreme Court earlier this year upheld that provision of a 2011 state law passed after the Montana Cannabis Industry Association sued to block it. The association has said the rollbacks would force the closure of dispensaries and leave patients without a legal way to obtain cannabis. Helena, Montana. Sponsors of an anti-marijuana initiative that failed to qualify for November's ballot are claiming they submitted enough signatures to put the measure before the voters, but that thousands of names were lost or wrongly rejected by county officials. The measure seeks to repeal Montana's medical marijuana law and declare that any drug illegal under federal law is also illegal under state law. The result would be a ban on marijuana use and possession in the state that includes the 13,170 medical marijuana patients on Montana's registry. The proposed initiative fell 4,137 signatures and one county short of qualifying for the ballot after county officials rejected 8,000 signatures as invalid. The approximately 6,000 lost and rejected signatures that the sponsors say are valid would put the measure over the top, Chief Petitioner Steve Zabawa said. Denver, Colorado. 4 Colorado doctors accused of over-recommending medical marijuana have had their suspensions upheld by a judge who had previously blocked the suspensions. The Denver Post reports that the 4 doctors have recommended more than 75 cannabis plants for each of over 1,500 patients. Colorado medical marijuana law caps a patient's personal cannabis grow at 6 plants, but doctors can override that cap for patients truly in need. The doctors may not currently practice medicine and must now fight their case through administrative hearings with the state medical board. Charleston, West Virginia. A new report from the West Virginia Center on Budget and Policy claims the Mountaineer state could reap $26 to $45 million annually by legalizing marijuana. The Charleston Gazette-Mail reports that an additional $116 to $194 million could be generated by out-of-state residents coming to West Virginia to buy marijuana. West Virginia lacks any mechanism of citizen initiatives, and recent attempts at medical marijuana and decriminalization have failed repeatedly in the legislature. Columbus, Ohio. The Ohio Supreme Court is looking to clarify the services attorneys can provide to clients seeking to comply with the state's new medical marijuana law. The move comes after the court's Board of Professional Conduct had said attorneys can't ethically provide legal services to people setting up medical marijuana-related businesses because of federal prohibitions on the drug. Using, growing, and selling marijuana remains a federal crime. Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor said Wednesday the board's non-binding advisory opinion has caused some lawyers to question whether they can help clients follow the new law. This has been your Cannabis Radio News for Thursday, August 18, 2016. I'm Russ Belville.
We don't limit how much you smoke, and we don't limit where you listen. Cannabis Radio is now on iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio.
Play as Ted Growing, expelled botany sophomore and the biggest grower in town, only on Weed Firm Replanted. Available on the App Store and Google Play.
It's a lot of work being the biggest grower in town. Maintaining a room full of plants while dealing with a slew of eccentric customers? From a hardcore partier to the curious neighbor next door.
Is anybody home?
Help me expand my bud business by unlocking new strains, customizing my grow room, and completing challenges that you can't get enough of. Grow your empire so big you can see it from space. Low on funds? Don't worry. Weed Firm Replanted is free to download.
Download Weed Firm Replanted for free on the App Store and Google Play today. Get growing, Mr. Growing.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com.
The world of cannabis is evolving at a frenetic pace. The Russ Belville Show gets behind the headlines to take a deeper look at breaking news in our Cannabis Focus.
Well, today in the Cannabis Focus, we take a look at our veterans, particularly those suffering the effects of post-traumatic stress. And the states around the nation that have medical cannabis laws are increasingly adding post-traumatic stress to the qualifying conditions list. And, of course, we have the first FDA-approved study for whole plant cannabis to treat post-traumatic stress in our veterans. Dr. Sue Sisley is involved in that, and they are currently looking for veterans to join the study in Arizona and where's the other location? Was it Connecticut? Can't remember. But as we continue to see these positive developments with respect to post-traumatic stress, one agency that is still got its head in the sand or somewhere else is the United States Army, which continues to punish soldiers who might use cannabis to relieve the effects of post-traumatic stress. There's an article in Time, Time magazine, time.com, that says the headline is Top Army Doctor Leery of Treating PTSD with Marijuana. This would be Lieutenant General Nadia West. She is the Army's Surgeon General, and she is skeptical about medical cannabis for the treatment of post-traumatic stress. She says, quote, "It's been found that using marijuana has a lot of adverse health effects," end quote. Adverse health effects. These guys go off to fight in a war. They come back with horrors and demons just rattling around in their brains. They have trouble adjusting back to civilian life. And we're going to worry they've got some sort of adverse health effect if they use cannabis to treat that. What? They get fat from the munchies? They enjoy noodly guitar solos more? I mean, what's this adverse health effect? Well, General West has some of these effects. She says, quote, "Marijuana is more dangerous with some of the carcinogens that are in it than tobacco." Oh, General West. The old 400 carcinogens more tar than tobacco routine. Look, just because something has carcinogens in it does not mean it is carcinogenic. Water contains hydrogen, a highly explosive gas. Oxygen is also a flammable gas. But when you put hydrogen and oxygen together in a particular configuration of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom, what do you know? It's neither explosive nor flammable, because chemistry matters. And the chemistry of cannabis smoke, while it does contain many of the same carcinogens as tobacco smoke, as any burning vegetable matter smoke will, cannabis smoke also contains THC. THC has been shown to have an anti-tumoral effect, so much so that the largest case study on long-term cannabis smoking found that we didn't have less smoke-related damage than tobacco smokers. We had less risk of head, neck, and lung cancer than non-smokers. So we can put this to rest, this idea that, oh, cannabis smoking is dangerous because it has all these carcinogens in it. And that's worst case scenario if someone is taking medical cannabis by smoking it. Many people are switching over to vaporization, which eliminates all of those burning hydrocarbon carcinogens that you're worried about from smoking bud. General West also says, so to make it sound as if it's perfectly safe, the impact that it has long-term on certain areas of the brain, especially young people developing, that's been proven. Irreversible damage to the hippocampus and things like that can really have impacts on individuals long-term, end quote. Okay, the impacts on young people. So we're talking about 18 to 25, I presume. Because what I generally hear is that the brain development is done by age 25. So we're generally talking about most of your enlisted folks who enlist from as young as 17. And then, by age 21, you're not often enlisting in the Army. So we're saying these soldiers' brains aren't developed enough to be able to handle the long-term developmental problems to the brain. Yet they're suffering from post-traumatic stress. Their underdeveloped brains are already under attack from a debilitating condition. How much smarter are they going to be or dumber they're going to be is irrelevant when their brains aren't working at all or are working in such a counterproductive manner as to make their lives unlivable. So please, General West, start to get some education on this so that our soldiers can get some relief from post-traumatic stress from a plant.
One wife, one God, that I can understand, but one wife that is not civilized.
Well, folks, it's 4:20 in Denver, Colorado, and the rest of the Mountain Time Zone. Hope you're having yourselves a great day. Remember, no show tomorrow because I'll be on my way to HempFest. But we'll be back on Monday with all our HempFest highlights, so stay tuned for that. We've got some drug war data mining coming up next.
Maui Wowie. Acapulco Gold. California Kush. Our strains stretch everywhere, too. This is the Cannabis Radio Network.
Oh, let the marijuana llama tell you something now about a game for your phone gonna make you say, wow! The game's about the game of growing cannabis for cash. Grow the seeds till they bud, put the savings in the stash. Little by little, your empire grows large. Put different celebrities inside your entourage. You can choose to play with Snoop or me or Cheech and Chong, Cypress Hill, Willie Nelson, Wiz Khalifa with a bong. The name of the game is Hemp Inc., that's the point. Download and play while you light yourself a joint. The business of cannabis should be no crime. Hemp Inc. is even hot-proofed by the man who run High Times. Oh yeah? Get it on Android and iOS today. Marijuana llama out. Got to tend to me own crops, you know. Money don't make itself. Hemp Inc.
I'm Radical Russ from the Russ Belville Show.
Senator Mark Madsen of Utah. Mark, welcome to the show.
Everybody kind of turns a blind eye. They obviously have to go to some other state.
Representative Luke Fredericks.
We're going to get something on the order of nonviolent possession offenses.
State Representative Kathy Tilton.
Where does it go from personal use to commercial use?
It's the Russ Belville Show, the NPR of POT, weekdays live at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, exclusively on CannabisRadio.com.
Get the latest updates on the Russ Belville Show by following Radical Russ on Twitter and liking the Russ Belville Show on Facebook.
Are you playing an acoustic guitar but want to be louder without an amp? Try a resonator guitar. The fingerboard extension has National Resophonic and other resonators, square necks and round necks. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com. Go wild hog in the woods.
Promoting the end of adult cannabis prohibition is easy because we have facts, science, reason, compassion, evidence, truth, and logic on our side. It's even easier when researchers catalog it all for us. Learn how to gather the facts on marijuana use, arrests, seizures, rehabs, drug tests, and more on this edition of Drug War Data Mining.
Today in the Drug War Data Mines, we take a look at a new report from the Drug Policy Alliance regarding the state of California and its efforts to legalize marijuana this fall with Prop 64, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act. And one of the arguments we get from opponents of legalization, both the traditional opponents, the cops and the worried parents and the rehabbers and so forth, as well as the stoners against legalization, is an argument that goes like this, that marijuana, well, it's essentially legal in California anyway. Why should we bother legalizing marijuana? It's essentially legal. There's no really compelling reason for us to move forward. The group Citizens Against Legalizing Marijuana, one of the opponent groups, wrote, quote, "Since Prop 215, medical marijuana, was enacted in 1996, California has devolved into de facto legalization." And I always find this argument funny. So you're telling me that in California now, it's already as if it's legalized. So how could there be additional harm from making it official? If it's already effectively legalized, why not just make it official and start bringing in some tax revenue? I never understood that argument. There's another op-ed in the San Diego Union Tribune that wrote, quote, Californians no longer face the issue of teens or young people getting put in jail for minor marijuana possession, and we haven't for decades. Well, no, they didn't decriminalize marijuana in California until 2010, so that's not decades, that's 6 years. But the new report from Drug Policy Alliance puts this issue to rest by pointing out that tens of thousands of Californians every year are still getting arrested for marijuana. The report finds that between 2006 and 2015, there were nearly 500,000 marijuana arrests in California. Nearly 500,000. Now, you can split these into two halves. From 2006 to 2010, which was before Arnold Schwarzenegger signed the decriminalization law, you end up with around 18,000 marijuana felonies a year, and another 40 to 60,000 marijuana misdemeanors a year. That was up until 2010, when Prop 19 was on the ballot to legalize marijuana, and to undercut support for it, Governor Schwarzenegger signed a bill that decriminalized possession of an ounce or less. From that point on, misdemeanors plummeted from the roughly 40 to 60,000 a year to about 7,000 a year or so, a few thousand every year. Now, these are not people that are busted for less than an ounce of flour, but busts for concentrates, having more than an ounce, or giving marijuana away to other people. The felony arrests have stayed virtually the same. And decriminalization didn't affect that. Under the Prop 64, possessing up to 8 grams of concentrate will be legal. Giving away small quantities of flour and concentrate will be legal. Growing up to 6 plants will be legal. Now, this is not to say that legalizing marijuana is going to completely end the black market or in any way end all marijuana arrests. There will still be arrests, but there will be far, far fewer. Another thing proponents point out is, and this report from Drug Policy Alliance points out, is the racial disparity in marijuana arrests. Although blacks and whites in California use and sell marijuana at similar rates, California's blacks are roughly 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana offenses than whites are. According to the report, in 2015, black people were more than twice as likely as white people to be arrested for a marijuana misdemeanor, and nearly 5 times more likely than white people to be arrested for a marijuana felony, end quote. So, no, marijuana is not de facto legal. There are still thousands and thousands of arrests each year. Now, the data themselves don't tell us how many of those arrests led to convictions or to any jail time. But the arrest by itself is enough to have some devastating consequences. If you're poor and you're arrested, you can't afford to make bail. So you sit in jail, and when you sit in jail, you can't make it to work, and then you lose your job. If you got your car impounded in the arrest procedure, you may not have enough money to pay the impound lot, and you end up losing your car. And then when you lose your car, you have no way to get to work, and then you've lost your job again. So the arrests have an effect whether or not someone is ultimately convicted, whether or not they ultimately did jail time. Now, the good news coming out of California in the polls, the most recent UC Berkeley poll found that 64% of the voters were in favor of making Prop 64 the law of the land and ending adult marijuana, or beginning the end of adult marijuana prohibition in the state of California. We just got to keep people's minds on the point, and that is, we're not asking you to vote for the legalization you want versus the legalization you're getting. We're asking you to vote for the legalization you're getting versus the prohibition you've got right now. And yes, lots of people will get their medical recommendation and do just fine under Prop 215, but so many more don't, as these arrest statistics have proven. All right, stay tuned. When we come back, we'll get into our Cultivators Corner with Justin Beck, the CEO of Cultivation Technologies, Inc.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
How high do you like your profit margin? CannabisRadio.com.
Dr. Dabber, hurry! Its temperature is shooting past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's burning up.
I'm afraid for this little guy, it's just too late.
What caused the problem?
Only Dr. Dabber can maintain the perfect temperature for a smooth-tasting, slower burn. This standard vaporizer lost all of its health benefits, sending it up in smoke.
So you're telling me that most vapor pens burn so hot they produce smoke, not vapor?
Correct. Keep away from those standard vaporizer pens and turn to Dr. Dabber. Doctor's orders.
Less heat, more flavor.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs. Warning: hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals, or at least they pay me to say that. A public service message from CannabisRadio.com and the Russ Belville Show.
New beginner guitars and banjos are often constructed much better than ones built before your time. Why struggle? Get a new instrument or fix the old one. The trusted professionals at the Fingerboard Extension will evaluate your instrument for free. Repairs are priced for people who work for a living. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com. They say marijuana grows like a weed, but growing high-quality marijuana takes more than just throwing a seed in the ground. Join us as we speak with the most recognized cannabis horticulturists in the world and take your live grow questions in our Cultivators Corner. Welcome back, everyone. 32 after the hour, and today in our Cultivators Corner, we are joined by Justin Beck. He's the CEO of Cultivation Technologies Incorporated. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Russ.
Oh, so glad to have you here. And I received a press release that was explaining some very exciting news happening for your company, a new facility that's being proposed in Coachella, California. People know Coachella from the music festival, of course. Tell folks a little bit about this. What are you guys up to down there?
Sure. Well, we've been working on it for more than a year. We assisted the city with their ordinance in Coachella, and it's the first ordinance in the state to actually feature cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, transportation, and testing. And so we've got a 111,500 square foot facility, which now has full entitlements from the city, including a conditional use permit and a development agreement. So we're ready to go.
All right. And this is all on the medical side under the MMRSA?
Correct. Under that until such time as AUMA is likely passed in November.
And so is there any difficulty in transitioning over to that recreational side? Are you seeing any?
There's going to be a learning curve simply because legislators are going to have to merge the bills because both AUMA and MMRSA are going to be under the purview of the Bureau of Medical Cannabis Regulation under California. So there will be a few different things, but my understanding of the language right now is that if you are a cultivator for medical, then you're going to be prioritized, assuming that you're doing so under the standards of the state, you'll be prioritized to receive adult use licensing.
Now, what again is going on in this 111,500 square foot facility? You've got processing, manufacturing, grow, testing, all of that?
Yeah, there's actually 3 different manufacturers on site, 4 cultivation centers that are 22,000 square feet each, which actually have 22,000 square feet of tray and inside of each building. then a testing lab, a distributor, and then also transportation from the site.
So that's to comport with it. And I'm not entirely up on the MMRSA regulations, but isn't there a 22,000 square foot limit and that's why you've got 4 different cultivators going there?
That's correct. Exactly, Russ. The limit on cultivation for indoor under the law is 22,000 square feet. So we actually fit, though, 22,000 square feet of tray inside each of those buildings through our proprietary vertical racking system.
Right. Okay. So are each one of these grows then independently run? Are subcontracted somehow?
Yeah, they're independently run. So we do have tenants. However, we have a synergistic relationship with our tenants wherein we don't actually control them, but we do work together. And then we participate in the revenues from the facility. And they also have a really sound business because we provided them with a permitted location in the biggest market in the world.
Did you also mention there would be testing facilities, labs there?
Yes, our testing facility is being designed by Stephen Goldner, who's the FDA advisor to National Institute of Health. So I think it'll be the only testing lab in California which is built to FDA standards.
Wow. Now, how do you maintain objectivity for that lab when you might be testing some of the products coming out of your own grows? Is there standards being set in some way?
Absolutely. It'll be an independent company that's performing the testing. So we're just having Mr. Goldner design the testing lab to exacting standards of FDA because his pharmaceutical company will also be on site, which is called Abyssus Pharma. And in order to have a pharma company on site, he's going to need access to an FDA quality lab. But it'll be independently operated.
Okay. We're speaking with Justin Beck with the Cultivation Technologies, Inc., and we're talking about their huge facility in Coachella that is going up 111,500 square feet. And how much control and direction do you have over the cultivators? Are they choosing which strains to grow? Is there any sort of direction or vision from the company as to which strains to supply?
Yeah, we're still ironing some of that out just to make sure that we conform with the state guidelines. However, our cultivators are all pretty experienced, so we are open to suggestions. One thing that we didn't want to deviate on, though, just to maintain uniformity, is the design of our facilities' interiors. So we do utilize our drag and grow LED lighting, and then our vertical racking system, as I suggested before. But the strains, we're still ironing out our genetics plan with our tenants.
There's a lot of concern in California over water. You've been through some drought years and, other energy considerations as far as contributing greenhouse gases, carbon emissions. Is your company involved in any way in reducing those, using recycling and such?
Absolutely. We're actually expecting to achieve LEED certification on our buildings. We are building gas-tight envelopes, so there's no loss of HVAC or energy inside by virtue of the gas-tight buildings. We're putting solar across the entire top of the facility. We're using irrigation, and recycling of irrigation so that we don't waste water. We're reusing the water that does exit the facility for landscape. So we're really looking at every little tiny way that we can maximize the use of resources, including the use of drag and grow LED. Our lighting systems, although on a per tray basis, they're pretty close to what HPS is. When you look at cubic production space, they're vastly superior. So we're absolutely maximizing resources.
Excellent news. Now, over the years, as we've looked forward to the legalization of cannabis, there have been many in the community that have this fear of what they consider the Walmartization of cannabis, that it's going to get too big, that it's going to be all corporate controlled. How do you ensure quality and consistency in such large grow facilities? And have you had this reaction from some people, and how do you react to it yourself?
Well, as I mentioned, we're actually empowering, entrepreneurs through our model. So even though it's of that size, I just mentioned that there's actually 9 different operating tenants on our site. So it's not as if the whole business is ours. But I certainly have a respect for those in the industry that don't want to see its outright commercialization. I'm a medical cannabis patient and activist. I always have been. And, I think that there's room for both, though, because there are some benefits to larger scale because, you have, like you said, standardization, you have certain economies of scale, which is a better use of resources. So, I do have a respect for those that don't want to see projects of this scale. However, I maintain that it's good for them. It's good for the market.
Is your plan with Cultivation Technologies, Inc. to stay with indoor grows or maybe branch out into outdoor or greenhouse facilities?
This first one, we wanted to create a really good base for our brand, which is entitled Coachella, the brand of cannabis. And we really wanted to create a base of indoor product first, but we're absolutely interested in both greenhouse and outdoor projects. However, we're really big on eliminating the use of pesticides in our grows. So we do want, though, in the near next 12 months or so, to put together a project for both greenhouse and for outdoor.
I'd love to see that take off. Again, we're speaking with Justin Beck, the CEO of Cultivation Technology, Inc., and you can find them at Cultivation Tech on Twitter and Facebook. I was looking that up earlier. And what else can we tell people about Cultivation Tech? Do you have any other projects you're looking at or to expand beyond California?
Yeah, we are working on several projects actually within California. I think that the market here is large enough, to say the least.
That's true.
And we have enough to keep us busy. But I do want to draw attention to everybody for an event we're hosting to benefit cannabinoid research at UC Irvine. So Dr. Daniela Piamelli is one of the world's most renowned cannabinoid research scientists. He's the author of Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research, which is the only peer-reviewed scientific publication for cannabis. So we're hosting an event on August 26th called The End of Opiates, and we're going to be discussing things on the advances in research for pain management that hopefully one day are going to replace the opiates and opioids, which are killing people. Millions are suffering from addiction. So our company is trying to assist Piamelli's lab with awareness, donations, sponsorships, etc. So again, that's on August 26th, and you can find End of Opiates through Eventbrite on August 26th.
Excellent. And where is this again being held?
I'm sorry, it's in Costa Mesa at Avenue of the Arts Hotel. And again, it's to benefit UC Irvine's Cannabinoid Research Department.
Wow, that's great. Get online and check that out, folks, because the more research, the more help we can get on this, the better for all of us. And how has the local community reacted to this in your area? It's not exactly the Bay Area, right? I mean, it's more of a conservative area, isn't it?
It is, but Russ, the city of Coachella has been fantastic. The city leaders there recognize the economic opportunity that cannabis brings, and they're already an agricultural community. So imagine this for a moment. You are a city that has an approximate $20 million annual budget. Our project, just our 6-acre project, is likely to take them from a $20 million to a $25 million annual budget. So an additional $5 million in fees to the city just from our project. So to say that they are ecstatic would be an understatement. In fact, even members of the public who aren't really positioned either way on cannabis just really recognize what the additional revenue will mean for their little city.
How many jobs will this create, do you estimate?
I can't really put a real number on it, but I think more than 100.
Ooh. Well, that's got to be good for any town.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here, Justin, and we got about a minute left, so let me give you a chance to let people know the websites or any other contact information you'd like people to know.
Sure. Again, our website is cultivationtech.com, and then I encourage everyone to visit Eventbrite and look up the event End of Opiates. We're working with Dr. Daniela Piamelli, Dr. Sands, Stephen Goldner to end the opiate and opioid epidemic that's sweeping our nation through research of cannabis. So we'd love to have everybody there. Also, love any donations of any amount.
Get online, check it out. End of Opiates on Eventbrite and cultivationtech.com, at Cultivation Tech on Twitter and on Facebook. Justin Beck is the CEO. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and good luck on that mega facility. It sounds pretty amazing.
Thanks, Russ. I'll keep you posted. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have time for our radical rant. And Today we're going to talk a little bit about this meme that's going around on Facebook of people writing down 6630507 on their hands. What does it mean? And what does it not mean when we return?
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Seed to sale, clicks to conversions, and more. You're listening to the Cannabis Radio Network. The cannabis industry is growing. Business is booming. And as new opportunities arise in newly legalized states, each market is getting more competitive. Today, it takes more than just being a good grower. Do you have the resources to market and handle this ever-changing business landscape? Let Canna Management Corporation help you grow your canna business with our vast resources and experience to make your business a fully functional service company. Financial management, HR, sales, marketing, efficiency, and more. CMC has the experience and the expertise to improve your business and help you better meet the demands of your clients and customers. Call Canna Management Corporation and let our team get you ready to grow. 415-269-8015. That's 415-269-8015. Or visit canna-management.com.
Doc Rob, the concierge for better living.
My guests say Razzie Berry. We're talking about nature, naturopathic medicine, as well as the concept of prevention and preventing disease.
Empower people to live a naturopathic lifestyle, get to know your body, understand its rhythms, remove toxins, and use natural alternatives whenever possible. 90 to 95% of cancers are due to environment and lifestyle risk factors. I mean, that's a huge number. That means that cancer is preventable.
The concierge for better living with Doc Rob. Only on CannabisRadio.com.
This is Dan Michaels from DanMichaelsAudio.com, and you're listening to Radical Russ on CannabisRadio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant. Today in the Radical Rant, I want to talk about a meme that I've been seeing go around on Facebook. A lot of the people in my Facebook feed have been posting pictures of their hand, and written on their hand, it says, Google patent number 6630507. And the idea behind this is to have people, it's in reaction to the DEA refusing to reschedule cannabis, continuing to say that cannabis has no accepted medical use in the United States. And of course, you know, people react to that saying, but there's 25 medical marijuana states. Yes, but that's not the feds saying there's an accepted use of marijuana in the United States. That's California saying there's an accepted use in California. It's Oregon saying there's an accepted use in Oregon, and so on. And they don't decide for the United States as a country. They decide for their states as a state. So recognized use in the United States means the country of the United States, not any individual sovereign state that has recognized it. And I know this sounds stupid and hair-splitting and ridiculous. The FDA is saying there's no recognized use in the United States, even though a bunch of states recognize it. Aren't those states in the United States? Yes, they are in the United States, but that's not the kind of in they're talking about. It gets into this hair-splitting kind of grammatical mess, if you will. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. But that's the way it is. And it has been for 46 years now under the Controlled Substances Act. And so this 6630507 is supposed to be the follow-up to that. Aha! So you're saying there has to be federal recognition. Why, I've got your federal recognition right here. 6630507. United States Patent and Trademark Office. The patent on cannabinoids as neuroprotectants and antioxidants held by the United States government. Bam! Checkmate, we win. Federal recognition of medical use. Sorry. No. Now, I appreciate the people who are doing the meme. I'm not against the meme, right? I'm not against it because anything that gets people to Google this stuff and look it up and have more knowledge is a good thing in and of itself. But what the point of the argument, the point that the argument's trying to make is a moot point. Because those patents are not on cannabis. Those patents are on cannabinoids. The individual molecules taken from the cannabis plant. And that's the whole point of this game that's being played here, of this chess match that we got going on with the DEA for 46 years, is that we're trying to put a leaf-shaped drug through a pill-shaped hole. The FDA and its evaluation of what is and is not medicine in the United States has to evaluate things that are reproducible, consistent dosages of specific sets of molecules. And a plant can never be that. So when the United States government says, yeah, we've patented CBD, this particular CBD for neuroprotectant antioxidant, it's because they can reproduce that particular molecule every time, and that's a patentable thing, right? But a plant itself, you cannot. And that's why it's never going to fit. It's never going to win this game. And the more we keep this mindset of trying to play silver bullets, trying to play gotcha games with the government. I mean, this fourth petition that's gone down now has tried to do what the same three petitions before have done, is trying to show how ridiculous it is to say there's no medical use, which from a logical and medical and scientific standpoint is absolutely true. But logic and science and medicine aren't law. And under the law, what is medical is not a determination of doctors or of patients or of states or of voters. It's a determination of the FDA. And the rules are set up in a way that the FDA can only evaluate things that are pills or that are reproducible, sprays, inhalers, liquids, and so on. But consistently factory manufactured types of things. So when this meme goes up, this 6630507, you're trying to get people into that cognitive dissonance frame where they say, wait a minute, the feds say that it's not medicine over here, but they say it's medicine over there. But that's already set up with respect to medical cannabis anyway for most people. For most people, they already know it's medicine if they've got their eyes open and they can see epileptic kids stop seizing and cancer patients go into remission and people living with chronic pain be able to kick their opioid painkillers. Anybody paying attention knows that it has medical use in the United States. So continuing to beat that drum by saying, aha, we got you, feds, we got you with the patent thing, is it continues this line of thinking that gets into magical thinking, that there's going to be this one magic bullet, one particular gotcha moment where we overturn prohibition altogether. And I just don't think it's there. I do think there is a pathway toward that reality of overturning prohibition, but I don't think it lies through arguing the medical utility of the plant. Because right now, plants can't be medical. They're not. They are things that are not medical. Having that argument, it doesn't matter. If you want to find a silver bullet, if you want to find the key that unlocks marijuana prohibition in this country, it lies in our natural rights. It lies in our hemp heritage. It lies in our founding fathers. It lies in our 9th Amendment. The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights is not meant to deny or disparage others retained by the people. The Constitution was formed with the idea that we were granted inalienable rights, natural rights from our Creator, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are the top 3. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. There's a bunch more. And we didn't have time to write them all down. Constitution was long enough as it was, and feather quills and ink are precious, right? So we're not going to write them all down. We're not going to write all the rights down. Maybe we forgot some. And I would just go to my grave betting that an agricultural society founded by a bunch of plantation farmers would have to think that farming was a natural right. That any landed gentry, because they wrote all men are created equal and they meant, white landed gentry, but they were on the right track. And we're making it better. We're still making a more perfect union. We're not perfect yet. We're continuing to improve. But at the very least, I would have thought that the founding fathers couldn't have imagined that an agent of the state could go to someone who owns land and tell them what crops they could and could not plant. Well, maybe. I guess they were required to plant hemp, weren't they? I think that only underscores my point. If they were required to plant hemp, does that not also argue for there being a natural right for us to do so? And within that 9th Amendment, combined with our First Amendment that gives us freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of belief, freedom of assembly, there's got to be within all of that, 9th plus First Amendment, a right to our consciousness, and therefore to alter our consciousness. If I can't be told what to think, how can I be told how to think or how to alter my thinking? I just firmly believe this, and I keep despairing over the continued meandering down this box canyon trail of medical marijuana that only leads to the pharmacy. That's where medical marijuana goes. It leads to the pharmacy. If you want to be able to use whole plant marijuana as a medical option, you need to get behind this idea that cannabis use is a right for whatever reason. There's no qualifier. You don't need any third party to judge your right to be able to use cannabis. Cannabis consumers, to say one good thing about the NRA, if we got to be as politically active and fervent about our use being not something that should be allowed because we're sick, something that shouldn't be punished because it's a waste of money, but something that's a right, whether it helps us or not, whether it costs society money or not, whether it harms society in any measurable way or not, it's still our right. And if we recognize a right to guns, for God's sake, we got to recognize a right to plants. It's all the time we got for Hour 1. Stay tuned. Hour 2 is next. Lots of stories coming up. For everyone here at CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.